Welcome to Strange Weekly, your source for news of the paranormal and the strange. I'm your host, Toby Sells, author, veteran journalist, and lifelong student of the unexplained. These stories are real. The explanations are debated. What you believe is up to you. Our first story this week comes from Dallas, Texas. For decades, people said this building was haunted. They talked about footsteps after closing time, objects that moved on their own, the feeling that someone was watching, even when the room was empty. And this week, that building burned. According to reports from WFAA in Dallas, a pre-dawn fire destroyed the Blind Pig Butchery in Waxahachie, Texas, a restaurant located in a part of town long associated with paranormal lore. Fire crews responded in the early morning hours and brought the blaze under control quickly. No injuries were reported, but the historic structure itself was left heavily damaged, and the restaurant has closed indefinitely. Additional reporting from Fox 4 News says the cause of the fire remains under investigation. But the fire is only part of the story. Before it became the Blind Pig Butchery, the building was home to the Catfish Plantation, a location widely rumored to be one of the most haunted restaurants in Texas. Over the years, diners and employees described strange noises, doors opening on their own, shadowy figures, and an overwhelming sense of being watched. The stories were never substantiated by investigators, but they persisted for decades, becoming part of local legend. Following the fire, paranormal media outlets, including Coast to Coast AM, resurfaced that haunted history, linking the destruction of the building to its unsettling reputation. Officials, however, have drawn no connection between the fire and any paranormal claims. Authorities are treating it as a standard structure fire. Still, for many in Waxahachie, the loss feels symbolic. A place tied to memory, rumor, and unease, gone overnight. Death is supposed to be the end of the conversation. But in a hotel ballroom in Chicago, hundreds of people gathered to talk about what might come after. According to an opinion piece published by the New York Times, nearly 700 attendees recently filled a conference hosted by the International Association for Near-Death Studies, an organization devoted to examining near-death experiences, shared death experiences, and other encounters at the edge of life. Some came as researchers, some came as skeptics. Many came because they had lost someone and couldn't shake the feeling that the story wasn't over. Near-death experiences, often called NDEs, are reported by people who were clinically close to death and later revived. Common themes include sensations of leaving the body, moving through darkness toward light, overwhelming peace, or encounters with deceased loved ones. Science doesn't agree on what causes these experiences. Explanations range from neurological responses to oxygen deprivation to deeply rooted psychological mechanisms. But for the people describing them, the experiences feel more real than dreams, and sometimes more real than life itself. What struck the Times reporter Jessica Gross wasn't certainty, but grief. As traditional religion continues to fade for many Americans, according to a number of polls, conferences like this have become places where people search for meaning without doctrine, where personal experience replaces formal belief. Speakers at the event were careful. Even believers acknowledged uncertainty. No one claimed proof of an afterlife. What they shared instead were questions and stories that refused to sit quietly inside a rational box. Moments at bedsides, last breaths followed by sudden clarity, a sense that someone was still present even after they were gone. None of this proves what happened when we die, but it does reveal something else. For many people, death no longer feels like a closed door, but a thin boundary we don't fully understand. Something lit up the night skies over Germany last year. Bright shapes, silent movement, objects that don't behave the way people expect. And when witnesses in Germany can't explain what they're seeing, they all turn to the same place. According to reporting published by Yahoo News and attributed to DPA International, a German UFO reporting center logged more sightings in the past year than ever before. The organization, officially known as the Central Research Network for Extraordinary Sky Phenomena, recorded more than 1,000 reports in a single year, a sharp increase compared to previous years. But here's where the story takes a turn. Despite the volume of sightings, investigators say nearly every single one of them was explained. Most reports turned out to involve satellites, aircraft, drones, atmospheric effects, or falling space debris. A major culprit is the growing number of satellite constellations, including Starlink, which can appear as glowing chains or moving clusters across the sky. To someone seeing them for the first time, they can look unnatural. The research group emphasized that none of the cases were classified as extraterrestrial. Still, the spike in reports matters. Experts say public awareness of UFOs, now officially called UAPs, unidentified anomalous phenomena, has grown dramatically following government hearings, declassified military footage, and years of viral videos online. People are paying attention, they're watching the skies, and they're reporting what they see. So this isn't proof that aliens are visiting Germany, but it is proof that our skies are busier and more unfamiliar than ever before. This week, headlines claimed scientists believe aliens might be communicating like fireflies. But that's not exactly what the research said. The idea comes from a paper issued by researchers associated with Arizona State University. The paper doesn't claim aliens exist or that we've detected communication. Instead, it asks whether we might be missing signals because we're only looking for human-style communication. Fireflies don't send messages the way that humans do. Individually, their flashes look random. Together, they form patterns. The researchers suggest alien civilizations, if they exist, might produce patterns we currently dismiss as background noise. So the paper was a thought experiment, not a discovery. But when nuance hits the news cycle, metaphor becomes headline. We'll leave you this week with an opinion piece or maybe a remembrance from a columnist in Texas. That writer, Gaines C. Young, wrote in his Outdoors on the Edge column this week that U.S. military movements in Venezuela reminded him of the Mono Grande. The name Mono Grande literally means large monkey in Spanish, and it's been part of jungle lore for centuries. The Mono Grande is sometimes referred to as the Bigfoot of Venezuela. Reports of a huge ape-like primate living deep in the forest of Colombia and Venezuela go back at least as far as the 1500s, when explorers and indigenous people began telling tales of strange human-shaped creatures. One of the most talked about supposed encounters happened in 1920. Swiss geologist Francois Deloys claimed his expedition stumbled upon two unknown ape-like animals near the Tara River on the Colombia-Venezuela border. According to the stories, the creatures were about as tall as a human and behaved aggressively, even throwing branches before one was shot and photographed. That image later became known in cryptozoology circles as the possible new evidence of a new primate. However, most scientists now believe this famous photo wasn't evidence of an unknown species at all, but a spider monkey, positioned in a way that made it look bigger and more mysterious than it really was. Still, tales of big, hairy humanoids like the Mono Grande continue to pop up in cryptozoology and jungle folklore, just like Bigfoot legends in North America. Whether it's myth, misidentification, or something still lurking in the dense rainforest, the story of the Mono Grande reminds me just how much of this world is still unexplained and still strange. This has been Strange Weekly. I'm Toby Sells. Until next time, keep watching the dark carefully.